We live in an age of endless information. News travels fast, opinions travel faster, but clarity is rare. Every day, stories are told, but what they mean and why they matter is often lost. ClearPath Media was created to change that. We explain what's happening and what it means.
ClearPath Media is built for understanding. In a time when information is instant, but clarity is scarce, serious explanation has become rare. We exist to restore it.
If you're tired of headlines without depth
and conversations without substance,
then welcome to the right place.
This is not just a media channel. It is a platform for insight, a space for informed thinking, a clearer way to understand Africa. ClearPath Media. Africa Explained.
In a country as vast and varied as Nigeria, representation is never just administrative. It is emotional. It determines who feels seen, who feels excluded, and who believes the system belongs to them. Today, that conversation has returned to the center of national policy. Good morning and welcome to Daily Briefs. My name is Annabel Orji. The federal government has directed the Federal Character Commission FCC to enforce the federal character principles strictly without compromise across all federal ministries, departments, and agencies. Now, this directive was given at a workshop for the 5th board of the FCC here in Abuja, with officials urging professionalism, objectivity, and full adherence to constitutional duty. Secretary of the Government of the Federation, SGF Senator George Akume, speaking for the federal government, said that the principle is central to national cohesion and public trust. FCC's leadership reiterated its commitment to enforcing the law without fear or favor. Now, on the surface, this sounds procedural, but in reality, it reopens one of the most delicate questions in Nigeria's democracy. Is federal character the glue holding the federation together, or has it gradually become a substitute for merit? Let's begin by finding out what exactly is federal character principle. What this means is that the federal character principle is a constitutional requirement under Section 14 subsection 3 and Section 14 subsection 4 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. It mandates the appointment and federal representation reflects Nigeria's diversity so that no region, ethnic group, or state dominates national institutions. Now, to enforce this, the Federal Character Commission was established in 1996. Its oversight covers federal appointments, civil service recruitment and promotions, admissions into federal university institutions, even the distribution of public projects. The philosophy is straightforward. In a federation of 36 states and over 250 ethnic groups, balance is stability. Political scholars describe this as consociational governance, a model used in divided societies to prevent dominance by guaranteeing representation. Nigeria adopted this policy not from theory, but from experience. A federal character emerged from crisis, post-independence ethnic rivalry, military coups, perception of regional marginalization, and ultimately civil war. The framers of Nigeria's constitutional order believe that concentrated power breeds instability. Now, the federal character became a constitutional safeguard designed to prevent exclusion before it escalates. So you ask, how exactly has past administration applied all of this? Now, I'll tell you. Under previous administrations, federal character has been used strategically to manage unity, national unity. We begin from Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. He emphasized equitable state representation in federal ministries, parastatals, and security agencies, formalizing quotas in universities and employment. Also, Umar Musa Yar'Adua, God bless his soul, applied federal character deliberately to promote inclusion, particularly in the Northern and Niger Delta appointments. Good luck, Ebele Jonathan relied on this same principle to reduce regional tensions and broaden participation in federal governance. But implementation has not been without controversy. Now, successive administrations have faced accusations of lopsided appointments, especially in security and economic institutions. The National Assembly has repeatedly probed violations of the principle, including recruitment, appointments, promotions at key federal agencies, including audit of MDAs, in noting persistent imbalance despite constitutional requirements. Now, the FCC itself has at various times flagged non-compliance by certain ministries, departments, and agencies in this regard. So, why exactly does this even matter now? This directive follows a long-running concern about uneven implementation of federal character across government institutions. Some agencies, such as NAFDAC and others, have been publicly accused by the Senate of long-term violations of federal character in staffing patterns. Now, this broader scrutiny highlights ongoing tensions between national inclusion goals and practical recruitment outcomes across public institutions. However, enforcement has historically faced challenges, including limited FCC enforcement power and funding constraints, resistance or non-compliance by some federal agencies, debate over how to balance inclusiveness with competence and merit. That is why the phrase suggests without compromise carries weight. Its stricter audit, closer monitoring of appointment patterns, and potential consequences of violations. The central debate, which is representation versus merit. But enforcement brings us to the most heated part of this debate. Has federal character gradually replaced merit? In federal university admissions, cutoff marks often vary by state, under quota, and educationally disadvantaged state classification. Now, this framework applies across federal universities such as University of Lagos, that's UNILAG, Ahmadu Bello University, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, Obafemi Awolowo University, OAU, University of Ibadan. Now, in practice, candidates from some states may require higher aggregate scores than others from the same course. Supporters argue this corrects historical inequality in access to education, but critics argue that it embeds uneven standards. The same tension exists in public service recruitment. Should the highest scoring candidate automatically secure roles in critical federal institutions such as the Nigerian Immigration Service, Federal Inland Revenue Service, the Nigerian Customs Service, or key economic and security ministries? Or should geographic balance influence the final decision? Now, here lies the structural dilemma. Federal character manages representation, but it does not fix the inequalities that create imbalance. Nigeria still faces disparity in educational access, infrastructure, and economic opportunity across states. And as long as those gaps persist, federal character remains a balancing tool rather than a transitional policy. Now, there are risks on both sides. Applied rigidly without competence, safeguard, it could definitely weaken institutional performance. Ignored entirely, it risks deepening marginalization narratives and eroding national trust. Representation and merit are not enemies, dear viewer. but they must be deliberately aligned. Now, here is what we think here at Clear Path Media. The directive to enforce federal character without compromise is politically significant, absolutely. It signifies or it signals sensitivity to inclusion. But inclusion without transparency breeds suspicion. And representation without competence breeds fragility. Nigeria does not need to choose between merit and inclusion. It must institutionalize both of them. And that means transparent appointment data, clear competence benchmark, fair recruitment processes, sustained investment in educational equality, so quotas gradually become less necessary over time. Federal character was designed to preserve unity, but unity built on imbalance will always be unstable, and merit pursued without inclusion will always be contested. The real test of this directive will not be how firmly it is announced, but how transparently it is implemented. Because in the end, federal character is not about arithmetic, it is about trust. And trust is the true foundation of a stable federation. In our next episode, we'll examine whether the federal character principle should have a sunset clause, or countries like South Africa and India, how they manage their representation, and whether Nigeria can transition between or towards a merit-based but inclusive federal model. Stay with Clear Path Media as we continue to bring clarity, not noise, to the policies shaping Nigeria's future. My name is Annabel Orji. Stay informed, stay engaged, and I will see you next time. Good morning and have a productive day ahead.
We live in an age of endless information. News travels fast, opinions travel faster, but clarity is rare. Every day, stories are told, but what they mean and why they matter is often lost. Clear Path Media was created to change that. We explain what's happening and what it means.
Clear Path Media is built for understanding. In a time when information is instant, but clarity is scarce, serious explanation has become rare. We exist to restore it.
If you're tired of headlines without depth
And conversations without substance.
then welcome to the right place.
This is not just a media channel. It is a platform for insight, a space for informed thinking, a clearer way to understand Africa. Clear Path Media. Africa Explained.